Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be comparing a 2022 BMW X5M competition to a 2022 Land Rover Range Rover full-size with the turbocharged inline-six. Now, I know that this might seem like an apples to oranges comparison, and it kind of is, because the BMW X5 competes more directly with the Range Rover Sport, but the new Range Rover Sport is not out quite yet. And on top of that, this particular full-size Range Rover is just a 5-seater, so is the X5, and so they're kind of comparable from that perspective. And then on top of that, a loaded up X5M competition is actually the same price as what this Range Rover costs. And so if you're going to spend about $120,000 on a car, should you get the X5M competition or should you get the Range Rover? And let's kind of figure that out in today's video. First and foremost, so I'm going to include a link to both of the original dealerships that provided me with both of the cars in the description down below. So definitely check them out. And then as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below as well. Let's get into the video. Starting under the hood of the BMW, we have a twin-turbo 4.4-liter V8 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. It is good for 617 horsepower and then 553 pound-feet of torque, which is just absolutely monstrous. And I can tell you, after driving this SUV, it is just mind-blowingly fast, especially at elevation, because again, it's a twin turbocharged engine, and so you don't have nearly as much power loss where I live. And I think the display is pretty cool as well with how they have it set up. Now, popping over to the Range Rover, and again, remember, these are the same price. We've got a turbocharged 3-liter inline-six that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. It's good for 395 horsepower and then 406 pound-feet of torque. And so, yeah, it's a super solid powertrain. You can get better fuel economy with it, and it's going to be quieter, so it's going to give you more of a luxurious experience, right, from a driving perspective. But anyways, going over the styling here of the BMW, notice that they've pretty much gone all out with sportiness from a styling perspective. So really prominent lines there on the hood. I love this coloration. It's got like gold metallic flake in the gray paint, and it just looks so cool. It's one of the coolest new colors on the market. And then notice, of course, got the BMW logo there. We've got our kidney grille, and you can see just how open the kidney grille is, right? You got to have quite a bit of airflow to feed that big turbocharged V8. And then you guys can see there with our X5M badge there on the grille, not so subtle, right? You've got the daytime running lights here with the LED headlamps, and BMW's laser LED headlamp system is great. It's super bright. And then notice how everything's open here on the front end compared to other BMW models. You got parking sensors, you got the sensors, all that kind of stuff for like a cruise control and everything. You know, normal car stuff, but really aggressive looking front end. Now that compared to the Range Rover is completely different, right? They've gone for like a minimalist design here with the Range Rover, so not a ton of lines. And just notice how everything kind of looks like almost like flat and uniform from a front end perspective. And notice how the daytime running lights are a little bit boxier as well. They've kind of gone for like a boxier appearance here with the Range Rover. That's just like a Range Rover thing. And, you know, again, everything's just kind of like melded together. You got the fog lights here at the bottom with some parking sensors, of course. And yeah, just kind of more of like a smoothed off appearance there with the front end of the full size. And you guys can see how that contrasts to the previous generation right there. Now, popping here to the side, massive wheels and tires. You pretty much get that on all of the X5s, I've noticed. Well, you can at least get it as an option, like, you know, the larger wheels. But even like the, you know, less powerful versions of the X5 will still have tires that are over 300 millimeters in the back, which is just crazy. And look how big those brakes are. You guys got to remember, these are huge wheels, right? And the freaking rotors and caliper are just like, it's just filling up like the entire wheel almost. It's just crazy. But again, when you have over 600 horsepower, you're going to need quite a bit of stopping power. There's a quick look at the suspension there. And then notice here with the fender flare how that's been painted to match. And then you got that accent piece that's blacked out with the M colors. on it. Blacked out mirrors, and then all the trim around the windows has been blacked out, as well as the rails there at the top, so it all kind of matches. And yeah, especially with the fender flares and everything, again, it has this aggressive appearance from a side perspective, but it is, pretty busy when you compare it to the Range Rover over here. The Range Rover actually has even bigger wheels. They're 23s from the factory. Just wait until we get 24s soon. It's just bigger and bigger every single year, it seems like. Then you guys can see here with the molding there for the fender. No fender flares. And then you've got the signature little accent piece there on the side, but notice again how it's like in with the bodywork. Black roof, that's kind of like a Range Rover thing, how everyone's copying it, where you do the roof black, right? And then you got the black accent piece down below. But again, door handles pop out, and other than that, like, it's super simplistic from a side view perspective. Now here is the key fob for the BMW. As you guys can see, you've got all of those different functions to lock it, unlock it, open up the hatch, and then you got the M colors again on the key fob. Now this has the tailgate seating, basically, so you guys can see how you've got the top it open, then the bottom as well, which I really like, actually, because you obviously can use it as a little tailgate to sit on, but it also makes loading certain things into the back a little bit easier. And notice I have the X there on the side, and storage space underneath as well, which kind of adds to the practicality of the X5 as well. This was a demo car, if you guys are wondering why there is a blanket in there. But cargo cover there in the back, and then notice how it all closes together when I press that button, which is pretty cool. And then going over the rest of the rear styling here, I love the taillights on the new BMWs. They're super sharp with the LEDs. And then, of course, you got your X5M competition badge there to flex on everyone. And then notice the diffuser and the exhaust tips there on either side, right? Pretty aggressive with the overall appearance. And again, still going with that sporty theme from an exterior perspective here with the BMW. And then going from that over to the Range Rover, you guys can see functionality on the key fob's pretty much the same. You can turn on the lights with the Range Rover. That's a little bit of a different function. But notice again, it's got that whole tailgate situation. Lots of carpeting on it. And you guys can see there with the cargo cover inside as well. So if you guys are wondering from a storage space perspective, the Range Rover is a slightly larger SUV. That's why this review is slightly apples to oranges. But the BMW, as you saw, was still really practical from a storage space perspective, but this has just a little bit more with the rear. Also, you've got the air suspension, so you can raise and lower the rear. You've got that for the cargo cover, and so it's pretty cool that you basically have all that functionality built into it, and that makes it a little bit more practical, because SUVs are pretty tall nowadays. But notice there that you've got the button there to close everything up again, just like the BMW. Now finishing things up with the rear, again, that minimalist design continues, so pretty interesting looking with the back end. And then notice how the trim kind of connects all the way across here with the full size. And you've got the Range Rover print that's really dark in coloration, and then parking sensors there on the bottom. And then you guys can see they kind of hide the exhaust tips there, again, to continue that minimalist theme. And yeah, overall I think it looks pretty good. Now, popping here into the BMW, you can see we've got sunshades here for the back passengers, and really nice material use on the door panel. Leather everywhere. We've got pretty cool design, and again, sharp edges, right? Because they're going for that sportier theme, carbon fiber as well, so it's pretty cool. Ambient lighting, and again, like I said, this is a demo car, so that's why there's car seats in it. And you guys can see though, it can fit them, right? That's important. But really nice seats there in the back. You can see behind the car seat. And another thing to mention here with the seating area is legroom. Kind of pay attention to that, so we can compare that over to the full-size Range Rover. And then you can see there with the heated seats, and then the climate controls down below for the rear passengers. And yeah, overall, really nice, practical little area there in the back. And then you guys probably saw the M colors on the seat belts. Now, popping over to the Range Rover, we got the pop-out door handles. Now, again, there's a lot less happening on the door panel. Really nice material use. Let me know which door panel you guys like more. You notice you got the seat adjustment here on the door panel for the rear passengers. And again, they just kind of have cleaned things up quite a bit. And then here are the seats, same thing, really simplistic with the design, nice material use, right? But if you look here, It looks like the Range Rover might have slightly more legroom, but it's not as much as you'd think, considering that it's a larger sized SUV. It's just like a little bit more there for the rear passengers. And then you got the climate controls there for the rear, and then all the charging ports as well. And then notice we have our cup holder armrest situation, so over-engineered, but you know, it's pretty cool. And then going from that to the front here of the X7, or not X7, X5, sorry about that. You guys can see again with the material use on the door panel. Again, even stitching on the bottom, which I think looks fantastic. There's a bunch of practical controls like your memory seats. For example, you've got blind spot monitoring for the mirrors, and then again, more carbon fiber, right? And the ambient lighting, trim, and I love the look of the speakers with the sound system. It all kind of like melts together. Front seats are very interesting looking. If you look at the headrest with like how the seats are shaped, it almost looks like one of those like short dudes that has like no neck. If you get what I'm saying. I know that's a weird comparison, but like that's kind of what it reminds me of. But I love this. I love the feel of the seats, and I think they look pretty cool overall. Got your light controls, more carbon fiber, right? Got padding there on the dash. Steering wheel's power adjustable. And then popping over here to the Range Rover. Notice again with that minimalist design here on the door panel. So there's not a ton happening. And then they've doubled down with all of the controls. So notice the memory seat function is built into the seat adjustment controls there on the door panel. And then you've got like the window controls and then the mirror adjustment and everything all built in the same area. Still got blind spot monitoring in the mirror. And then notice here with the front seats, not nearly as aggressive with the bolstering, right? Kind of like two different segments, two different approaches, right? And then you got there a lot of nice padding there on the dash. And going from that back into the BMW. Ooh, got a pretty cool startup right there. Now here is the steering wheel. So you can see we've got really nice leather trim all around the steering wheel. Got the M logo there at the bottom. And then notice there with the stitching all around. And then in the inside, again, M colors. And then you got your M2 and M1 modes. This does have adaptive cruise control with the steering assistance. It's practical from that perspective. Regular stocks there on the back. And going from that to the gauge cluster, full digital gauge cluster goes up to 200 miles an hour. Just, it's an SUV. Just think about it. We live in a world where we have SUVs with speedometers that go up to 200 miles an hour. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It shouldn't be real. Anyways, when you go into some of the different drive modes, right, it'll actually change how the gauge cluster looks, which is pretty cool. Right, I like how they have it like that because it kind of almost like how the RPMs will go up and everything. It just, I don't know, it's super unique with how it looks. It's like you're taking flight, right? You're about to take off in a plane when you are going through the gears, right? Anyways, from a camera system perspective, it's got a full 360 camera system. And you got the different camera view points here. Something I've noticed about the BMWs is it won't let you go to the front camera when you're in reverse. I mean, it kind of makes sense because right, you're in reverse, but some automakers let you do that. They let you completely change camera view even while you're in reverse. I'm sure there's some sort of legislation or something getting in the way of that. But anyways, with the infotainment system, you can control it via the touchscreen or a little dial pad. As you guys can see, I'm kind of banging through the different shortcuts there on the side. And then you got the shortcut to the safety tech where you can basically do individual or everything on. I typically go to individual and have certain things off when I'm in a car. And there's the button for the safety tech shortcut. And then notice there with the climate controls, has heated and cooled seats. It's important for us to mention in this review. And then notice you've got the buttons for the radio presets. You can kind of just hover your finger over that to go over those, which is pretty cool. And something else to mention there with the infotainment system is you guys can see there with the little navigation map how it's like always up and it's like split screen function. But tons of carbon fiber throughout the interior. Right, and you've got your X5M right there on that little carbon fiber piece. Wireless phone charging, you know, all the practical amenities you expect. And then here's the shifter. We'll go over that in a minute, but anyways, little dial there for the infotainment system if you don't want to use the touchscreen function on it. And then you got like your parking brake, and then you guys can see here we've got a bunch of different little functions here that we can go through. So like, look at that with the setup for the sport mode. And then you've got your M mode. Anyways, Red stop start button, that's kind of specific to the M cars I've noticed. Stability control, auto stop start if you can turn that off. And then we have that for the transmission to make it more or less aggressive. That's what that little button does. Found that out the first time I reviewed one of the newer M cars. I think it's pretty cool that they let you just do that on the fly. So if you want to have like a smoother or more aggressive shifting experience. Other than that, the M cars also do get their like own specific automatic shifter where it's different from the regular BMW shifter in terms of the appearance and like functionality, where you go to the side. As you guys can see, it's kind of interesting. But anyways, it's pretty normal center console and then glove box as well. Decent storage space in both of those. And just notice the material used throughout. Really nice, but again, towards the sportier side of things with the overall theme. And that's what BMW goes for, is luxury sport, right? And then popping up top here, we've got a full panoramic sunroof. And, I did the camera filter way too bright there. But really nice with the headliner as well, right? And again, that's kind of like a sporty car thing to do. Typically with the luxury cars now, they'll do like leather-wrapped headliners. But anyways, pop back over to the Range Rover. You guys notice really nice with the steering wheel. It's got like that two-spoke design. I guess that makes it even more minimalist because it has less spokes, right? But you guys can see paddle shifters are really nice. Material use is nice. Even the stock ends have nice with the trim pieces. The rest of them is plastic, but they're making an effort to make it so your touch points feel good. And then you have that where you can press it and it actually changes the face on the steering wheel, which is kind of interesting. Airbag cover wrapped in leather, so nice little luxury touches. Full digital gauge cluster, just like the BMW. Let me know which one you guys like the look of more. Again, like you can just tell what these manufacturers are going for, because the BMW gauge cluster has this like, aggressive sporty undertone with the coloration and with the overall layout, whereas this is like calm luxury. It's cool how you can see what the different automakers are going for. And this has the larger infotainment system that you can get with Range Rovers, because they do have smaller ones in certain vehicles, right? I love how you have like an off-road view for the camera, and you have a front and rear locker, or not, sorry, center and rear locker, my bad on that, with the full size, as if anyone's ever going to take this off-road. Seriously, like I would be shocked if anyone like even touched dirt with one of these. Anyways, you guys can see with 360 camera view, so both of them have 360 camera systems, really solid. The different viewpoints. Cool thing about the Range Rovers, you can see like under the vehicle, there's like a camera view for that, so it's kind of a cool piece of technology. I love how it shows you the elevation that you're at with it as well, which is always pretty cool. And yeah, as for the rest of the infotainment system, response time's great. Notice we can control all of the climate zones here from the infotainment system. It's just pretty user friendly overall, I'd have to say. And I think, it does have that kind of like plopped onto the dash look, but most luxury cars do that nowadays. They don't really integrate them as much, which is kind of weird. But notice this one doesn't have any cooled seats. $120,000, doesn't have cooled seats. But other than that, you guys can see here with the rest of the controls, again, everything's like doubled down into each other. So like the fan speed button is also the temperature button, which is also the heated / cooled seat button if it has cooled seats. It's all into the same control, so it frees up space inside. And then you guys can see here with the wireless phone charger and all the storage space, got a little USB there. Pretty interesting shifter. It kind of looks like a little shaver almost, like a razor. It's kind of weird, but it's got nice leather trim on it. And then you can see here with the center console, tons of storage space. You can get a refrigerator with the Range Rovers, which is pretty cool. I've always liked the fact they have the double glove box. Even though the top one kind of opens up interestingly, it's more storage space, right? It adds to the practicality with the vehicle. And then we do have the different drive modes that you can go through. So notice we have our dynamic, right? Eco, comfort, grass, gravel, snow, mud, ruts, sand, rock crawl, and then wade. So it's got a bunch of different off-road modes that will, again, never be used because, well, it's a luxury car that people like to cruise through and just have a nice experience with, right? Even the grab handles have that luxury car appearance to them. And then it does have a camera mirror, which is a nice bit of luxury tech with it as well. Basically, BMW goes for the sporty side, and then the Range Rover goes towards the luxury side. So it's just going to depend which one you're going for. Again, very apples to oranges comparison, but they're both the same price. And so let me know which one you guys would go for if it was your money.